going to do a proper intro today for everyone because we've not done one before. Welcome to the fucking Tech Dad Pod. There we go. That's
That's the intro.
I wrote it down. I thought that's it.
That's punchy.
That's all.
That's the one.
That's all I need. All we need.
Welcome to another episode if you have previously listened, or welcome to the first episode if you have never listened. Hopefully you stick around with us.
Yeah, and if you haven't, go back and listen. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, sort your lives out. This parenting stuff ain't that difficult.
We've done good stuff. Come on, we're here to help.
We're trying
in our own unique way.
Yeah.
Trying is the operative word.
Trying is the operative word.
Yeah. But in fairness, this for one, it is hot in London today, or in the UK, I guess. Is it hot where you are?
It is pretty warm, pretty toasty. It is 27 degrees or something like that right now. It's supposed to get a little bit hotter for any of the Fahrenheit people. That's low 90s. Pretty warm.
I've never understood Fahrenheit. Well, I've never needed to, which is probably why. It's just the numbers higher. That's all I know.
The numbers higher. It makes sense. You know, there's that whole thing about, Americans going kilometers, but we talk about stuff in miles, and so do the Americans. But then we use degrees, and then they use Fahrenheit, and it's all a thing. It's hot. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
maybe too hot.
That's all that matters. Is that it's quite hot.
It's hot, and we're not equipped to handle the heat here. We don't have air conditioning units. We don't have all that. Those shenanigans. It's hot.
We can't do either. We can't do cold weather. We can't do hot weather. If it snows, the transport system's down. If it gets too hot, the transport system's down.
Leaf on the line. Leaf on the road. Transport system's down. Fun times. Just what you need for the start of the summer holidays too. And it's still the start of the summer holidays here in the UK. Whereas all the American children are about to go back to school. So
I've never understood that. Surely it's really hot when they go back.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, it's a big place, so that won't be the case in everywhere, but in a lot of them.
I think it's still universally pretty warm wherever you are right now. Anyway, we didn't come on here to talk about the weather today, though.
We didn't, but before we start, I've got a question for you that's just popped into my head. Obviously, podcasting is not new, although we're new to it-ish. So my question, what was the first podcast you listened to and got hooked on?
First podcast I ever listened to and got hooked on. You know what? I didn't actually listen to all that many podcasts until about until about 3 years ago. And then there was two podcasts that I really liked, actually, that I started listening to around the time when I became a dad. One was, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a podcast by a drummer for a hardcore band that I listened to. He interviews a lot of other musicians in heavy bands and things like that. And he talked around a range of topics around touring and mental health and all that kind of stuff. I found his podcast was really good. I'll have to dig out the name of it. You know what? We got the internet. I can look it up right here. What's it called?
Yeah, I was just looking.
The Downbeat. It's just come back to me. It's called the Downbeat podcast,
nice.
Which was really good. And then
see, mine is
also
such a
listening to around
not even a curveball.
I
think a lot of people forget that it even existed.
Anymore, but I listened to a few episodes.
So my one is back from 2005. It started, which I didn't realize it was that long ago. It was the Ricky Gervais Show.
Have podcasts really been around that long?
Yeah, Ricky's done a lot. I don't think he gets the podcast credit that he should, because it was him, Steve Merchant, and Carl Pilkington, just chatting waffle like pretty much what we do.
Oh.
But obviously, Ricky and Steve just made fun of Carl because it seemed quite easy. Um, but yeah, I think that was probably the first big podcast period. I don't think there was any before that, and I loved it. I still listen to it to this day. I think you could, if anyone wanted to, they could buy them as like audiobooks now and go back and listen to them. And they're just really, I mean, they've to the point they've been recreated into an animated series.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that
all
kind
that
of shows
animation.
how, yeah, I think that shows how good they were that they've taken the time to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
that
also,
was my first one.
yeah, also those guys did what is it, An Idiot Abroad as well? It's just a great series where they
Oh, they've
send
done
Carl off, where they
here.
send Carl off to all these
They've
places.
done so much. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it's a
Carl.
good show, good show. It's just you want to know what it's like to be a stereotypical English person that has very
Yeah,
little, very little outside world experience. You will understand if you watch that show.
yeah, yeah. It's so funny. Right, should we actually get into the topic?
Yeah, we'll get into the topic. Let's do that.
Yeah, this is a good topic. Screen time.
Screen
I think
time.
a lot of people will find this. I want to say useful. I don't know if you'll find it useful, but
Oh, come
yeah,
on,
actually, I don't know.
you can't preface a conversation like this, and it's just I don't know if people will find it useful or not. Of course, you're going to find it useful. No, no, screen time. I think it's something that everybody considers a lot more these days in the digital age than they have previously, for sure. You know, age old adages of the boomer generation going, "We didn't have screens back in your day. We had to entertain you on our own." Um, yeah, screens.
Do you know what? I kind of wanted to start there because I remember growing up, sitting in front of the TV and being told that I was too close to the TV,
And that your
and
eyes would go square.
yep, and yeah, and I wouldn't see straight, and all these kind of things. I mean, my eyes aren't great, but that's genetics. That's thanks to my mum. So
Yeah.
thanks, mum,
Cheers, man.
for my shit eyes. Yeah, for not being able to fucking see. But yeah, um, so screen. I know that's a TV and it's a little bit different, but it's still a screen. So screens aren't new.
Not new in the sense. I think the accessibility to screens is
Mm,
new. The
yeah.
accessibility and the frequency in which we interact with screens is new.
Oh
Which,
yeah, the
like,
frequency.
there's a screen
I don't
everywhere.
know. Saying that, if I think back to playing Sonic on my Sega Mega Drive, I would have spent hours on that. And that
Yeah.
the TV was small, so I would have had to have sat even closer.
Inside the TV.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Yeah. Did you ever have one of those early like handheld devices? My dad had a Sega. I think it was called Game Gear or something like that.
yeah.
But
I
yeah, it was
never.
one
I
of
had
the
a Game Boy. I never
first
had a
hand.
Game Gear.
Yeah.
I do remember it was always the last couple of days at school before the summer. Where you could just bring in what you wanted and play
Yeah.
games and shit. I remember there was always one boy that brought in his Game Gear, and I was just jealous. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
I would love to walk around playing Sonic, but now I've got to sit in front of the TV, the big TV. When I say big, I just mean it was the weight of it. I don't even mean like the screen was small, but it was
Yeah.
just
You know,
huge.
those big box units. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. Yeah,
Was
that's what I was going for.
yeah. The definition is like 240p. You can't see anything. um, the screen time. How much time do you reckon your kids spend on screens?
I, worryingly, I don't know. That yeah, the honest answer is I don't. It's also I think it's almost a grey area to a certain extent now, especially with how education is going. Because I don't know what it's like for your two because I know they're a lot younger, but for mine, like all of the homework is online now,
Mm,
so there's always going to be an element of being in front of a screen, even for education. Like I mean, Jaden's starting secondary school in well, nearly in just over a month, and one of the things that he needs to have is a Chromebook.
what?
So
Like that's a
yeah,
prerequisite.
A prerequisite is he need. I mean, they say you don't need it, but if he didn't, he'd be the only one there, and there'll be certain things that he just can't do because he's not got one.
Yeah, it's got to the point where if you don't have one, it's that kind of exclusion thing. You know, when I was in school, mobile phones were that thing. You know, a lot of people didn't
Mm.
have mobile phones, and then mobile phones started to come into the thing, and it was like, you know, if you didn't have one, that got to a point where it's just like you don't have a mobile phone, like that's weird. And we're talking like
Yeah.
Nokia 3310s, you know, like playing Snake on
Oh,
it.
Snake.
um, yeah, so that's it's kind of it's I don't know. I think the world it's a difficult one because the age that we live in now, everything happens on a screen. You know, we're recording this on a screen. We spend what 8 hours
Yeah.
a day and sitting at a computer, and then I don't know about you, but Stephanie and I go and sit and watch Netflix on the TV after that, and there's pretty much always a
Yeah.
screen in the
I'll,
room.
I'll sometimes be working and have my iPad next to me with Netflix on, so I'll literally have two screens with me most of the day.
Yeah, even then, you think about you doing that. Like how much are you actually focused on a task that you're doing with the availability of screens and the instantly accessible information that is out there? You know,
Yeah.
like how
Yeah.
focused and how
That's
present are we as adults, even not even as kids?
yeah. I know for certain tasks, I'll be okay having a screen there. But then there'll be so like if I'm putting a piece of content together or writing something, I'll need just my laptop and just I'll put it in. Like, luckily, I've got a MacBook and can use the focus mode and stuff, so that's quite helpful.
Are you
Um,
watching Netflix right now?
that's, no, no, it's paused. It's paused. Yeah, one thing I have to give Apple credit for the functionality they put into their devices around managing screen time and all that kind of stuff. They've obviously done a lot of work around it, which is good to see.
Yeah, yeah. I think screen time is inevitable. I think it's about the conscious screen time. So I couldn't tell you how much screen time my kids get, but they like my eldest, for example, 5.5. He has screen time in the morning, and when I refer to screen time, I think of it as screen time where they're doing or watching like what they want on screen. So he plays Minecraft a lot. Like Minecraft's
Mm.
like all the rage. So he plays that for like an hour every morning, like when he wakes up and before breakfast, and then he'll play a little bit on the iPad like before he goes to sleep, and that's okay. But then I don't really consciously think about like the watching of the TV anymore. But if you think about them being engaged with the thing that they're watching, when he's on the iPad, he is like engaged with playing the Minecraft. Or even my youngest, like when they're watching Netflix and their TV shows, they are actually watching it. So, you know,
Yeah,
if you turn it off, then they're happy to run away and like do other things, or, you know, they're pretty good about wanting to do coloring or go and play football in the back garden or
mm.
whatever it is. They're pretty good about that kind of stuff. But I think,
Yeah,
like you say, having some consciousness around like screen time in of itself and those devices, like putting those things in place is the main thing to consider. I guess also if you when you do have kids and you do have them on, if they are using an iPad or whatever, one of the things that I found is like my eldest was when he was watching, he would watch like a lot of YouTube, and like he'd watch a lot of NFL highlights, he'd watch a lot of like soccer
mm.
highlights, and then he'd watch a lot of those like kids videos that have been created on YouTube. You know, these YouTube accounts that have millions and millions of views, and all it is them like other kids like playing with toys or them doing like random
Yeah.
experiments or things
I
like that.
hate I hate those.
And I was just like, how do you watch this trash? And he was watching it on like my YouTube account or like the unrestricted,
Mm.
you know, YouTube that you have access to everything. And I was watching a video, or I happened to be paying attention one day, and I was just like, what is this garbage that you're watching? Like that's like it started to drift away from just the innocence of all of that kind of stuff. So one thing I've as a as a parent, like if you're giving your kid a screen because you need to get stuff done. Like screens can be great to distract them, and
Mm.
you know, get if you need a bit of peace and quiet or whatever. Screen is a great way to distract them, but not lean on that too much. And if you are doing that, having some oversight into what they're looking at is great. And this is after I said said that I set up YouTube Kids for him
Yeah.
and YouTube Kids, and I'm very, very grateful to Google and the YouTube team that created YouTube Kids because the
Mm.
content is so much better vetted. Yes, they're still watching garbage videos that I would never watch, but it's stuff that
Yeah.
is safe.
You've not got to worry about the content,
Yeah,
like the subject matter. You've not got to worry about. Whereas if it's just free roam YouTube,
yeah, yeah,
they could literally stumble across anything.
yeah. And it's like I think to some extent as well, it also gives them an opportunity to discover and find out what they're interested in. So my eldest again, like he'd come and he'd be like, I want to try like this experiment. Like if we do this and this, and he's seen a video on YouTube and, it's pretty like
Mm.
harmless kind of, like Coke and Mentos style stuff. Like I want to try it. And
Yeah.
it gives them, almost inspires them to try something else because they've seen somebody else do it. And like, that spread of information or like that creativity, I think is a good thing. But I guess there's a balance to all of it.
Yeah.
Like
I, I was thinking about this a lot because I've noticed as well that there'll be times where because my two love to draw, and there'll be times where they'll be on YouTube watching like a, a drawing tutorial.
mm,
Um, so they're watching that to so Amelia did one the other day learning to draw a panda, and the drawing she did was really good. And I just like to think is do I count that as screen time because technically she's using a screen, but she's using it to draw. Yeah, it just made me think like there's obviously there's almost different categories of screen time now.
yeah, I think, yeah, I guess, the main worrying thing for, I guess, any parent is like, is your eyesight. Like I'm concerned about like my own eyesight and how my own eyesight is going to develop
Mm.
from staring at these devices. And, hopefully technology companies put some research into behind this thing and, like there's blue light filtering and all this kind of stuff that is going to be better. But I think you're absolutely right when it comes to like categories of screen time. That's what's important. Like how much are you going to let them play computer games? Like for example, like my parents so my parents had a computer room, a study back in the day, and it
Mm.
was, you can have 1 hour. This is when we had dial-up internet, for fuck's sake. So
Oh
you've
yeah.
got 1 hour of internet to do whatever you want. And I used to go and use my hour to play RuneScape and hope my dad would forget how long I'd been on there to play RuneScape. And
And then suddenly someone needs a phone, and that's it. Your time's
yeah,
up
you're
because they've got to
cooked.
make a phone call.
Exactly. So I think that categorization in the screen time is absolutely right. If you're using a computer or a device or whatever to research or learn, that falls into a different category of,
Mm.
I guess the equivalent in the adult world is mindless scrolling. Like how
Yeah.
much time a day do you want to mindlessly scroll on TikTok or Instagram? Apply that to your kids, and it's like, how much time do you want to give them playing Minecraft or
Mm.
watching YouTube or whatever it is that they're into, and contain that. Um,
Yeah.
I guess, I
You
guess,
just reminded me of something that was really funny. So at the kids' school, I was a parent governor for a little while. Um,
oh, I did that too. So
yeah,
much paperwork.
yeah, but yeah, yeah. Because of that, there were times where I'd have to like go around the school and just do viewings of stuff. And there was one time I was being shown around, and I walked past. They obviously had done a display about social media and kind of the minimum ages you should be to be able to use each different app. And they had all the usual ones like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. But then they had LinkedIn, and I just started laughing. And like all the others was like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "What? What 10-year-old is on LinkedIn? Like, what? It's not even on their radar. That's to me. That's not even now. It's not a social media app.
Yeah.
It just cracked me up that they thought, oh, let's throw LinkedIn in there because you can't be too young to start your professional network.
they're 10 years old writing posts about influencers. Today in the canteen, this
Yeah,
happens. This is what it taught me about
yeah,
business.
yeah,
Yeah, that's craziness. I think what the kind of big question is, and probably other people are thinking this is, are we as parents these days quote unquote lazy?
mm.
I think
It's a good
there,
question.
because I had like I said earlier about give. I know if I give my eldest the screen because I want them to, I need to get something done. Give them a screen, or try and turn the TV on
Mm.
and put a program on that they want to try and give me a bit of peace and quiet to do something, whether that be make lunch or clean up a bit or whatever it is. Like, is should we are we less creative as parents in getting them to do activities that are engaging, or do we just rely on the screen as the next best option or the easiest option? You know,
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. Um, I would I would probably I'd probably say I can be lazy.
me too.
Um, Actually, no, I would. Do you know what? I wouldn't say it's lazy. I would frame it as I just want it to be as easy as possible for me.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
a
I
defin?
think
Actually, is that just a definition of lazy? I don't know.
I, I guess, I guess, I guess the whole crux of this whole conversation comes down to, are screens preventing your children from becoming well-rounded people, polite,
Hmm.
well-mannered, able to behave? And I think when screen time gets in the way of that, you've got to be super switched on and understand that, like, so my eldest, again, when he's had too much screen time, he becomes a little bit like angsty and frustrated because that's what he wants to be doing, and
Yeah.
he's indulged a little bit too much, and then his behavior will deteriorate. And when that behavior starts to deteriorate, it's just like, okay, well, I know the screen is your kind of, they think about it as, I think it's like screens can be a currency, right? You know, you don't
Yeah.
really, you know, children have few things that, you know, they like doing XYZ, and a lot of the time these days are screens, you know. So
Mm.
if my eldest is acting up, and it's just like, okay, there'll be no iPad, there'll be none of the things that, there'll be none of that you enjoy doing. So treating it like a
Mm.
currency and actually as a vehicle for encouraging good behavior, you know, like the treat the treat kind of thing. Like, I'm not like, when I think back, it's just like, oh, okay, what did my parents use on me as the thing that said, if you don't behave or you don't do X, Y, Z, you won't be able to do Y. You know,
Yeah.
like the screen is the Y. You know, so I think finding out what your kid's currency is, and I think screens are a lot of kids' currency. Playing the Minecraft, watching the YouTube.
Yeah. They definitely are. Like I know for with Jaden especially it is because I remember about a month ago I think it would have been we went to he had a football tournament like an all day tournament. It's the first one he's ever done, so it was all like a new experience, which is fine. But it got to a point where he was literally. This was at the end of the tournament as well, so they was waiting for the last match to finish before they all went up and got their medals, depending on where they placed them and everything. And he was just sitting there, just on his phone, which I didn't really have a problem with until his coach said to everyone, like all the boys, let's go get some ice cream. So literally, we'll all go, and I'll get you all an ice cream. And when it was like that was put to Jaden, he just snapped and was like, "No, I don't want to." I was like, "What do you mean you don't want to? You don't want an ice cream?" And I just found it so alien that he's at a football tournament with his friends. He's been offered an ice cream, and he's like, "No, I want to sit on my own on a screen." Like I think it's moments like that when you realise how big of an impact the whole screen thing has.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty fucking stoked if I was getting an ice cream,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
today.
And yeah, I was tempted to go in his place, just walk over with the kids. Like I'm having
Sub me in,
Jaden's. It's
coach.
fine. Yeah,
um, Yeah, and I think that's the biggest consider. I think there's with if you have kids and your kids are teenagers or maybe 16, 17, 18, you think kind of see some levels of isolation developing
Mm.
for, I think, isolation developing. I think I'm more fortunate now, given that my kids are younger, that they'll probably be, we've seen the negative impact of screens as it relates to kids'
Yeah.
mental health and isolation now. So we're more conscious about it now. And I don't have good advice or a good solution for anybody that has had their kids grow up with screens in their high school years, that have developed a reliance on
Mm.
it, or digital communication. Like there's whole languages being developed because of how, like emojis, for example. There's a whole language. It's
Yeah.
like we've moved back to saw a really interesting thing. It was like we've kind of moved back to hieroglyphs with the with the advent of emojis, because emojis are used to convey meanings like hieroglyphs were.
Yeah.
And it's it's a fascinating thing. I think, yeah, I feel fortunate that there's more knowledge now about the impact or
Mm.
detrimental impact that screens can have on kids now, so I can be a little bit more conscious of it as my kids are growing up, compared to somebody that might have a
Yeah.
teenager on their hands right now.
Yeah, I would imagine a teenager with the screens is just going to be a big headache for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'd love to sit here and say this is how you solve your problem. Your teenager spending it, like, I kind of sympathize, because when I was like 14, 15, 16 and got an Xbox for the first time, like that's all I did.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
remember revising for my exams and stuff, or like my parents would both be at work and I'd be on study leave or what have you. I'd sit there and play Xbox all day, and then my parents would come back and I'd be like, I'd make sure that when I knew at the time they were going to come back, I'd get off the screen and be like, yeah, I've been revising really hard all day, I'm going to go play my Xbox now. I've been playing all day, and then we'd get play for another 4 hours. And it's like, yeah, screens are inevitable, right?
Mm.
This thing is inevitable. But I think,
Yeah.
if you think about alternatives to screens, I think just engaging in conversation, like around the dinner table, or what's the best and worst
Yeah.
part of your day, or stuff like that, and just not submitting so easily. I think it's so easy to submit to the screen. Just
Mm.
we got to put, as parents, we've got to put that little bit of extra effort in to
Yeah.
engage with our kids now than we might have previously done. And that's on us. Like that's not ban screens or whatever. It's just like make doing stuff. It's just get them involved in the cooking, or get them involved in the gardening, or you help out around the house. We're going to do this stuff, and sure, use screen as a reward, but the more fun that you can make those activities that aren't screen related, the more inclined they're going to be to help out or engage in conversation, or whatever it is. And I think that's on us as parents. I don't think that's this isn't a problem for big tech to solve. This is how do we adjust as parents in the modern world.
Yeah, definitely. Also, as well, I don't think a lot of parents realize how much their kids learn from them and by their
Mm.
actions. So, if as parents, if you're sitting on your phone scrolling aimlessly for an hour, they will then see that as that's okay.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Which, yeah, I don't think a lot of people may not consider that
Yeah.
when you like. I always make a conscious effort, especially when I know the kids are around me, to kind of go on devices as little as possible. I mean, it's different. Like if I'm working from home and they're with me, then I need to be on my laptop. That's just what it is, and they get that. But not just scrolling aimlessly on Instagram or TikTok for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick up a book, and they see you reading, then they're going to want to read, or play play a play a game of chess or whatever by yourself, or a board game, or do a crossword puzzle or something. I don't know. Just like you say, like less device in your hand means less device in their hand.
Yeah. Do you know what? This
Don't
is one
enable
I
it.
know. Yeah, I know. Last week we spoke about um, summer holidays and like where I'm going. I've decided to invest in a bop it.
A bop it. Oh my god, I haven't played one of those in forever.
For right, okay. For starters, I didn't realize how expensive they are now.
How expensive?
They're
How
like
much are we talking for a bop it?
they're nearly £50.
Oh
They're. I think because they do a lot. There's a lot of different versions of it now. Like there's a lot of smaller ones that haven't got as much on it. So it's maybe two or three things rather than the five or six you get on the full size bob here. But yeah, I just thought this for because obviously there's going to be on holiday. There'll be quite a few kids, and I just thought this will be something that they can do that isn't a screen, and it's still quite a good fun little game that they can play. Also, it will improve things like their reaction skills and things like that.
yeah,
Because that was the main reason I wanted to get it for to kind of like help Jade and Amelia with their football and gymnastics and refining those little reaction skills that you get from something like a bop it.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of things out there that we've kind of forgotten. I think it might things that might almost seem retro to us, or like this was fun when we were growing up. Kids are still going to get that enjoyment out of all of those things. We play a
Yeah.
lot of like top trumps. We play top trumps quite a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and matching card games and all that kind of stuff.
Mm,
Stuff that like board games, like seems like old school or whatever, but they're fun for a reason. Um,
yeah. Not Monopoly though. I can't like
you want to cause
Monopoly's
some
banned
arguments?
in my family. No, yeah, it is just we can't do it. We're all too competitive, and it doesn't go well.
No, the flipping
No.
tables over and
Yeah. 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 So we've all just made a pact that we won't play. Like that's the one ball game we won't play is Monopoly.
yeah.
So
Do you play the
all
rule?
the
Where
others
do you
will.
play? Do you play the proper rule where if somebody lands on something and you don't want to buy it, it gets auctioned?
I think I think so.
God, I haven't played Monopoly in ages.
Yeah, I haven't for the reason I just said.
um, yeah, I think it's. I think the main point is just comes back to us being more creative and just being. If you
Mm,
want your kids to spend less time on screens, be conscious of what you do as parents
yeah.
to have experiences that don't involve screens. Get out in damn nature. Yeah, we're complained about the weather at the start of this podcast, but it's nice. Get them out. Go down the park, kick a soccer ball around. Throw a
Yeah.
pigskin, whatever it is. You know, I think
Saying
that's
that
one of the.
the weather does play a big part in this though, because if you've had a summer like we've had where the weather's just been temperamental and it's rained a lot of the time, it's more difficult to do those kind of things, right?
Yeah, but yeah, then that comes back to it's again whether it's it's just like, oh, we have an inside day, and it's just like, okay, well, do some activities like make up
Mm,
make up games. I remember playing games with my dad's mum when she was with us. They visit from Ireland, and I remember we'd spend all afternoons playing these games that she'd created that had just been passed down, which I've forgotten
mm,
how to play now, unfortunately. But it's just I remember sitting there for like hours, just like playing these games like around the table. It's just like spending that time and building that bond. I think more time you spend engaging and building that bond, like with it all comes. It all comes down to that, like creating like a bond and be it making conscious effort to do things that are fun. And kids when they're younger are a lot more willing to do those kind of things
yeah,
before they've had
yeah,
too
that's
much
true.
exposure. It might take a little bit longer if you've got teenagers or whatever. Then just find out something that they're interested in, or give them a new experience, something that
Mm,
doesn't involve a screen. And yeah, it just requires a little bit more cognizant effort and intent as a parent these days than it probably ever has. And I think that's the crux of the matter.
Yeah. I mean, as well, there are a lot of ways that parents can manage it as well. Um, I know I've already touched on Apple have got their screen time things built in. There's also some things that I've I've previously had, but so my internet is with Sky,
Mm,
and they used to have something called Sky Broadband Buddy, which was literally an app that you would set up that would install profiles for, or you'd create a profile for your kids, and you could limit their internet activity through this app.
mm,
So yeah, it was a really good way. So because one of my biggest things is that if all say if all your devices are Apple, then it's easy to do through that. But Jaden's also got like a Windows laptop,
yeah,
and obviously Apple's not going to be able to manage that. So this kind of thing where it's almost at the router level is quite good, because with that as well you could manage like Xbox time and PlayStation time and things like that as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. The
I know
technology,
that
yeah,
there's
the
a
technology exists, right?
yeah. So there's an app out there called Circle that does a similar thing. It's not free. There's a subscription for it, but it's not in the grand scheme of things. It's not expensive at all. And I think as well, Sky have also got a new version of that, depending on your package,
Yeah,
your broadband package. And I'd
kids.
imagine other providers have got similar things out there as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make an effort. You know,
Yeah,
make an effort and just be like to your kids, this is the way it is. And like if they haven't accessed the internet or whatever in the time that you've allowed them, or if
mm.
it's like you can only use the internet between X hour and X hour, or you can only have a total amount of time surfing the internet or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like if they've missed their boat or not used their allowance because they were having so much fun doing something else, and that's a win.
yeah, exactly. I think as well with those sort of things, you can block it at an app level as well. So maybe if you've got a team that's always on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you could block it so it's say an hour of just social media apps.
Yeah,
So then they'd still be able to maybe play games online or do their homework or just browse the internet or whatever. But it would just be those more dangerous apps, I guess, that
yeah,
they're limited on.
yeah. The time sucking apps.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's such a big interesting topic. But I think from my experiences, like my youngest, he's 3.5, like doesn't use the iPad, or he just watches
mm,
TV. He wants to watch Ben and Holly or Simon the Rabbit or whatever it is.
yeah,
He's not really got sucked into that screen life.
mm,
Um, so yeah, I think it's just being cognizant of when it becomes a problem. Like my eldest, like will sometimes, like I said, say to him, it's just like if you want to use the iPad, like you need to ask, and occasionally he'll run off to a quiet place and be quiet. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. They're being quiet, and then I realize it's because he's run away and he's gone and grabbed the iPad. you know.
yeah,
And it's just like I didn't. We'll walk in, and he was just like, I didn't say you could grab that, and now he's just like, oh, sorry, and then puts it down straight away, and then runs away because he doesn't want me to take it away. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
yeah,
I just said yeah about 17
yeah. This
times
is
in a
something
minute.
I've got a feeling we're gonna do. Like, I don't think this will be like a one-off theme for us to talk about screen time. I think we'll come back to this over and over again because it's not going to go away.
It isn't. It isn't. Yeah, just cognizant effort to
Mm.
to make things better. Be better yourself. I'm not sitting here saying all you are shit parents if you rely on screens. It's just if you don't want screens to become detrimental, then you got to put
Yeah,
the effort in.
yeah, and
Oh,
just make sure they're being used in the right way as well. Because like for example, there's apps out there that like will help kids teach learn how to like write and understand code and things like that, which are going to be
yeah,
so so valuable to them later in life, especially with the way the kind of career path is going.
Yeah, I don't think there's a one size fits all approach, you know.
No,
And
there's not.
sometimes it is. Sometimes it is better. Just sometimes you need the little bit of mental space yourself, and just say fuck it. Like I'll switch TV on. You can have the iPad. I need that for
Yeah,
yourself, and you know that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about that.
yeah. As long as it's not a pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah, every once in a while.
there's a yeah. All right, there's some opinions for you. Maybe we get slated for this. Maybe we don't. You know, you guys are being like,
Yeah, but
and if
yes,
you're listening to this and going, you guys are unrealistic, then yeah, tell us. Like, but that's been my experience so far.
yeah. Do you know what? Add the comments what your experiences are, because I'm really interested to know what, especially in different parts of the world, how how it is for you guys, because I can only speak on my own experiences. Likewise with you, Jack.
Yeah,
So it'd be interesting
yeah,
to see what everyone else's take on it and how other people are kind of managing it and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Reddit question.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Reddit
This one,
question.
when I read this, I
Um,
thought it's a really interesting question. Also, so the first thing that drew me to this one, I'm not going to lie, is that it was short because I've noticed on Reddit, especially, people like to write a lot. Like there aren't that many short questions
People
out
love the
there.
sound of their own typing.
Yeah, yeah. So when I saw this one, like straight away, I saw that it was short, and I thought that was what drew me to it. Then I saw the question. I was like, oh, that's a really interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah. The
So
question, as it goes, is what parenting or life admin task would you pay to have someone else do?
such a good question.
I've got an answer. It's a good question.
Yeah, I have. For anyone that like really knows me will probably not be surprised by this as well. Mine would be money management and finances, because I'm not good at managing that at all. It's considering I'm in general kind of a OCD kind of person. That's the one thing that just falls away, and I'm just not good at it. I never have been. I've tried. I, I've accepted. I probably never will be. So if I could pay someone to do all of that for me, that's the one that I would do.
Yeah. I think uh, for me, it would be paying somebody to handle all of the logistics around like running the house and like making sure that your bills are submitted on time,
Mm,
like your energy meter readings and all that kind of stuff was all like taking care of you, and like everything was just running smoothly with what it meant to be, so that you can focus on parenting better
yeah,
or managing your work better when you've got all that house management logistics to take care of, like your broadband sorted out, or your phone contract renewal is coming up. Like manage all of that stuff, so set parameters and be like,
yeah,
this is how it is. Tell me if there's any kind of big changes,
yeah,
and you know, or actually being in a situation where you're co-parenting. So like with my ex-wife, like diary management, just so that we both
yeah.
know
Oh,
what
yeah,
is going on with the
yeah. I
kids
bet
at
that
all
would
times.
be a good one. Like
Yeah,
having a
because there's
PA
so many times.
between years.
Yeah, that would be it. Like I don't I don't have the luxury of having anyone to do that. We have to manage it ourselves. But there's been so many times where I've just been like, we've been messaged by my ex-wife, and she said, remember, you've got this, or the boys have X on,
Mm,
and I'm like, really? Like, where? It's not in my calendar. It's just like, so we do now actually have a shared calendar. Was it Time Tree?
mm,
Shout out Time Tree. Um, to help with all of that. But so many times it's just somebody that could populate all of these things and like do the day swaps that we might need to do outside of the usual schedule that we have. I think that would be valuable.
yeah, that does sound valuable.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
anyone listening or watching, let us know what yours would be, because again, I think this will be quite different depending on where you are in the world. Because I mean, obviously, you touched on things like energy meter readings and things like that. That there'll probably be people listening thinking, I don't even know what that means. But then there'll be things that they
But yeah.
have to do that we will not have an idea what that is either. So yeah, that'd be interesting. Let us know.
Thanks, Andrew.
For what?
Just being here and chatting through all this
Uh,
for chatting through all this
it's good. It's a
shenanigans.
journey. It is a journey. Yeah, we're all good.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Overarching message from me: be kind to yourself, but make the effort. You know, have the relationship with screens that you want to have your kids to have relationships with screens, and you'll be all right.
That is, I couldn't have said that any better.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's like we sound like we know what we're talking about.
It does. It does, doesn't it? I should do,
Yeah.
considering I started my career in mobile phones. So I should have seen this coming. Should have seen it
Yeah,
coming.
hindsight's a wonderful thing. Nobody sees you coming, mate.
No, that's a whole other podcast. That's a true crime
Apart from
one.
the barman, the barman sees you from a mile away. Oh dear. Oh, cool. All right, screen time episode
Free,
something.
free.
Episode 3. Perfect.
Well, we'll come back to it.
All
So
right. Thank you, mate.
it'll be one of many, I would imagine.
One of many.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, like, subscribe on whatever platform this is, be it YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. We can carry on bringing you more of these things.
Yeah, and let us know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about. Because, I mean, obviously, me and Jack are just doing things that we want to talk about, but there might be some stuff that you'd like us to talk about. So yeah, let us know.
Yes. Let us know. All right, mate. Love you so much.
Well, love you too, man. Enjoy your time in the
All right.
States,
I will.
and
I will.
I'll see you when you're back.
Yes. Yes. I will see you soon.
Cool.
Bye, buddy.
Bye, mate.